Book TV is at the 17th Annual Harlem Book Fair at the Schomburg Center, the corner of Malcolm X Boulevard and Lenox Avenue in Harlem, New York. And joining us right now is one of the authors who is exhibiting and talking about his book here, Troy Lewis. He's the author of Gas Money. Troy, I want to know where Saluda, Virginia is.
Saluda, Virginia is about 40 miles from Williamsburg. It's a little small town in Middlesex County, Virginia.
Why does it matter to you?
It provided me with the foundation that I ended up with. It's a place that made me me. All of the people who kind of shaped my life that's where everyone originated from.
So you talk about Saluda, Virginia, which had a population of 769 in the 1960s. That's where you grew up.
Yes, sir.
What was it like then?
Well, it's 769 now. When I left in 1974, it was 350. So the population has doubled. It's a very small town. Everyone knows everyone. And that's what I think makes it kind of unique. It's pretty much small town America.
Did it reflect the issues that were happening in the 1960s throughout America? Was that a microcosm of Saluda?
Yes, sir. I grew up going to segregated schools. We integrated in 1969, and that was a big deal. And so, yeah, when the changes were taking place around the country, they were also taking place in Saluda.
So population 300 plus. How many schools were there?
There was one black elementary school and one white elementary school. One black high school, one white high school.
And what were those populations?
There were probably in each grade maybe 50 kids. So, maybe 150 people total in an elementary school and the high school.
So how segregated neighborhoods as well?
No, everyone kind of lived next door to each other. There was always at least, 50 yards to 100 yards between each house. And people got along. We just didn't go to church or we didn't go to school together.
You talk about this in your book, Gas Money. Show us a copy of the book right there. The dichotomy between living and getting along and then going to segregated schools, you touch upon that in the book?
Yes, I do. Again, when we integrated in 1969, when I was in the third grade, it was a huge event because leading up to that, the kids in second grade, we didn't want to integrate. We thought that the white people would not be so nice to us. But I had my first white school teacher, Mrs. Ruth St. John, and she changed my life. She changed my perception on all people. On the first day of school, she walked up to me and asked me my name. And I said, "Hello, ma'am, my name is Troy Lewis." And she said, "Well, Troy Lewis, I've heard a lot of good things about you. I'm glad you're in my class." And then she walked away. And I just remember thinking, she's a nice lady. And it changed my perception on how to meet and greet people for the rest of my life.
Troy, when did you leave Saluda?
1974.
Why?
My parents divorced, and we moved to my mom and my brother and sister, we moved to the Williamsburg, Virginia area, and that's where I remained until my mom felt like I was too much of a knucklehead, and she sent me away to Pennsylvania to Coatesville to live with my dad.
You also touch upon your military service in the book. Can you talk about that for a second?
Sure. I was in the military for 11 years in the Air Force, stationed in Germany, and 8 years in Omaha, Nebraska. And I met some wonderful people there who gave me plenty of gas money, just like the people back in Middlesex County. And gas money is essentially just people who provide you with guidance throughout your life. It's, they get me from one destination to the next.
So what was the impetus to write this book?
So many people, I work in the pharmaceutical industry, and I use storytelling to teach. And there were so many people who said, "Troy, you tell great stories. Why don't you write a book?" And it was a combination of a couple of people, my mom and one of my students, back to back saying, "You tell these great stories, quit telling them and write it so everyone can share it." And so that's how it started.
A lot of our viewers ask how to get published and how to write a book. What would be one of your best suggestions?
Well, the hardest part is actually writing it. It's easy to say I'm going to write a book, and there are so many people who, walk up to you and say, "Oh, I'm going to write a book one day." But they don't, because they don't sit down and start writing.
What was your method?
Just as stories popped into my head, I would write a chapter. I had no idea what the chronology was going to be, how I was going to put these different stories together. But I just started writing them, and then I started placing them throughout the book.
Were you surprised at the themes that were
Yes,
throughout the
I
book?
was, because initially I was just going to write individual short stories about various people. But then I saw these themes developing about doing the right thing and being positive and helping one another. And, then there were some negative things, the segregation part, the divorce part, people not getting along, dysfunction within the family. But all of the good things and the bad things, I tried to learn from that.
And what was your editing process?
I met someone online someone that I know who's standing off camera pointed out to me, and we got in touch with that person, and she didn't want to help me. I'm not going to give her name, but she didn't want to help me initially because she said she was too busy. And I said, what I'll do is I'll send you my book cover and the book bio and a couple of excerpts, and when you get a chance, take a look at it. She goes, well, I won't get a chance to do that until August. And I said, okay, ma'am. Thank you for your time. And I hung up. And then the next day she texted me and called me and she said, I love your book and I want to help you out. And so that's how I got an editor.
How important was it to have an editor?
It helped tremendously because as Mrs. Ruth St. John, again, that first white school teacher I had, she would attest to the fact, if she was still here, that my punctuation and grammar was not always the best. And so my editor helped me quite a bit in that area.
And did she help you get through pulling out different stories that she didn't think fit, or?
No, she read the book and she goes, I love your themes. I don't want to lose your voice. I want you to maintain that. She strictly was with grammar and punctuation and just kind of making the story flow a little bit better.
Have you been back to Saluda?
Say that again?
Have you been back to Saluda?
I go to Saluda about once a month because my mom lives in New Kent County, which is, I call my mom Mama. So she would know who I was talking about if I said my mom. So I go back to Virginia, to the Saluda area to see my mom. She lives in New Kent County, a couple miles away, and I go back about once a month.
Why are you at the Harlem Book Fair?
Well, I'm here to let people know about my book. I think the Harlem Book Fair is a wonderful occasion for people to showcase what they've written and how they can contribute to the community. And that's my book is all about. I want people to understand that we all impact each other, and we never know when that's going to happen.
Now, how can people get your book?
They can go to gasmoneybook.com, or they can go to amazon.com and just type in Gas Money, and it'll show up. It's the first hit. You can Google it. It's the first hit, and it's doing very well.
And if people want to contact you?
gasmoneybook.com. It's all on the website. And they can contact me, speaking engagements, what have you. Send me an email. I respond to everyone.
Troy Lewis is the author of Gas Money. He's at the 17th Annual Harlem Book Fair. Thank you, Troy.
Thank you.